again, it's Ms. Bolin, and I'm going to talk to you now about wedging clay. So this is how we recycle clay that we have touched and messed with, and maybe we let it get wet or we let it get dry, and now we want to recycle it and use it again. If your clay is at the same level of moisture, it didn't get too dry, you can just go ahead straight from taking scraps to wedging. If your clay got really wet or really dry, and you put it in a bag to reclaim it, and you add a little bit of water and it's kind of gooey now, I'll talk about that as well. So to get started with, you're going to take your piece of fabric that you've been working with, set it on a counter, and you're going to kind of hip check it. So I'm going to like hold it on the counter with my body, otherwise it's going to kind of like move around. And then you're going to take your scrap of clay, which is here, and you're going to push it down and bring it back to the halfway point. I'm going to try to do this kind of sideways so you can see the side view. So you're going to, nope, I can't do it that way. You're going to press on it and arc it back towards myself and fold it over onto itself repeatedly. The reason that we're going to do this with fabric on the table is to prevent it from sticking to the table, and this is kind of the shape that it's going to end up being. And the purpose of this is to get the clay platelets all lined up the same way and make it so that there's no air pockets or water pockets or any stuff in your clay that you didn't want. In a normal classroom, you'd be doing this on a table where the canvas was stapled down to the edges of the table, so it's a little bit easier. But if you do try to just do it on a regular counter, you'll often get sticking. So you can see like there's chunks of this coming off, so it's a little bit annoying to do it on a regular counter, but if it's dry enough, it works okay. It just leaves clay. This is my rib tool that I'm using to scrape those excess little pieces of clay back aside. Okay, so that would be what I'd want. It ends up being on the inside kind of like a swirl, and that makes sure that that clay is good to use again, and I can stick that back in my bag and use later, making sure always that I close up my bag. But let's say that you've got the ooey gooeys, that you've got the really wet stuff. What you're going to want to do, you can tell that this is just really sticky, very wet, is just let it dry out for a little while in the air, maybe an hour. I would definitely not leave it more than an hour before you check on it. Okay, but I like to make these little arches of the ooey gooey stuff, and that's going to help there be more air circulation around the underside of it. So this is all the scraps that were really wet and the scraps that were really dry, and I just combined them in this bag of scrap, and now I can reclaim them by letting them get back to a workable plastic, meaning wet and flexible stage. And I'm just going to set all these out somewhere where my cat isn't going to investigate them, hopefully. And if she does investigate them, I guess it's not a precious artwork anyway. It's just going to be, you know, kind of messy to clean her up. But she's over there on the couch right now, so I think I'm safe. Okay, so I'm forming my arches, and I'm going to come check them back out in about an hour and see if they're dry enough. If it seems like the outside is really dry and the inside is still really wet, what I can then do is just mash it together a couple times in my hands and then make another arch again. And you can do that until everything is all settled. Okay, so I'm just going to set this here. Okay, so those are my little arches, and I'm going to check again on those a little bit later, maybe an hour, check on them, maybe 2 hours or 3, depending on how humid it is in your home. And then you will be able to wedge them like I just did and use them again.